What is going on, Miami Dolphins fans? Welcome back to the Fins Up Network. It's Ben Morgan. It's time for the final preview and prediction show for our Week 2 matchups. Sunday Night Football, New England Patriots. We're going to discuss some of the latest Dolphins news. We're going to hit on some viewer questions that we accumulated throughout the week. And obviously, we're going to end with the final score prediction. But I want to hear from you as well. And that's your ticket for this bad boy. Your final chance to win that. Drop your final score prediction. Drop any of your thoughts on this game in the comments. Get subscribed as well. You definitely got to get subscribed. But a comment left gets you your final entry to win the signed Jalen Waddle photo. I will be doing the giveaway in the Dolphins Patriots recap video. Since it's Sunday night, and since if you're a listener from before, you know that I'm on the road right now, not my typical background. I'm on the road right now. I might not get to that recap video until Monday. So stay tuned for that, but we will be drawing for the giveaway in the Dolphins Patriots recap video. But let's jump into everything. We're going to talk first and foremost about some of the latest injury news. I really want to focus on Jaelan Phillips and Terron Armstead. You can see at some point on the scroll, the final injury report will show up. But Jaelan Phillips, a little bit unexpectedly, a little bit not what we wanted to see, showed up on the injury report Friday with a back issue. Now, it sounds like it's back spasms. If you've ever had back spasms, you know that's not something ideally you want to work with, especially playing in an NFL game. However, he should be good to go. I've been told that he should be good to go, but at the very least, it's something to monitor. But let's transition over to Terron Armstead because we obviously know that's been the biggest issue that we've been working with so far in regards to injuries. Terron Armstead is listed as questionable. It is as true of a questionable tag as you can probably get. Now, the good news is the limited practice sessions, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, was able to shed that red no contact jersey. But like I mentioned in the first preview video, Terron Armstead wants to go. If it was up to him, if it was just solely like, I want to play in this game, he's playing. He would want to play in this game. But like I said, I have been told that they're going to have a discussion. It's going to be Mike McDaniel. It's going to be Terron Armstead. They're going to have a discussion leading up to the game, and they're going to make a decision from there. Because like I said, Terron Armstead wants to play, but he does have a full understanding of what this means for the long game. Having the idea that the season in general as a whole is more important than just this one game. So like I said, it's a true questionable tag. They're going to have that conversation. If it's not Terron Armstead, it will obviously be Kendall Lamb. But to wrap this up, I'm going to drop one final nugget on Terron Armstead before we get into the questions. The idea has been brought up that Terron Armstead maybe plays part of this game. So keep that in mind as well, whether it's starting and then getting relieved or letting Kendall Lamb start and then bring in Terron Armstead at some point in time. That idea has been discussed as well. So keep that in mind. Like I said, nothing concrete, but that idea has at least been discussed. Let's get into those viewer questions. I'm actually going to combine the first two because they're very similar. So the first one was, do you think the Patriots will use more blitzing to try to disrupt Tua? And then also defensively, do you see the Patriots playing 3 or 4 safeties to help take away the middle of the field, to help contain the likes of Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill? Because we all know how dangerous they can be in that middle of the field. Well, last week, I found this stat. Last week versus the Chargers, Tua was blitzed 17 times, which was more than any single game time that he had saw last year. 17 was the most that he had seen. For comparison's sake, in that Chargers-Dolphins game last year, they only blitzed him 7 times. Now, in those 17 dropbacks last week against the Chargers, Tua went 11 of 17 for 148 yards. So he did pretty well in that game. If you watched that game, you saw he was recognizing the blitz early, and he was just getting the ball out right away. He was doing a great job against that blitz. And if you go back through Tua's career, he's always done a pretty damn good job against that blitz as well. But then that kind of lies in, where does Bill Belichick fall on this? Because Bill Belichick, as we all know, he wants to take away your strength. He wants to take away a main thing. So could he attack what maybe he perceives to be a Dolphins weakness? Maybe being one of those tackles, maybe pressuring up the middle. So I don't know if they'll see like an outright heavy blitz strategy, but it wouldn't surprise me if he tries to maybe take advantage of that pressure up the middle. Because what we've seen from Tua when rushers are coming around the edge, he's got that ability to recognize that and maneuver in the pocket. However, if you get one of those big guys coming up right through the middle, hands up, big guy in his face, That's where quarterbacks, especially of like smaller stature, not as tall, that's where you get some issues with quarterbacks and blitzing. So keep an eye on that as well. In regards to the safeties, to wrap up this first duo question, if you're not blitzing consistently, there's a good chance, yeah, you do throw extra bodies in the secondary, but it's also curious to see because we always talk about Tua being 4-0 against the Patriots and Belichick, but it's never been like what we saw last week or that game against the Ravens or one of those crazy Tua games where he's popping off for 300 plus and 3 or 4 touchdowns. It's never really been that. So despite being 4-0, it's not like Bill Belichick's had a bad plan for the Dolphins and for Tua. So it's going to be interesting to see. But like I said, he's always had a decent plan. But we'll get into in a little bit here why I think Tua has to have another big game. Will we see Devon A-Chain this week? A great question. I'm going to clump some running back talk just in general in this one because Raheem Mostert had popped up on the initial injury report with a DNP. That's looking more and more like it was like a veteran rest maintenance day, maybe a small issue with the knee, but nothing that's going to hold him out. He is good to go. However, I was told in regards to A-Chain, Devon A-Chain was included in this week's game plan. That is not a guarantee, though, that he is active. It's all going to depend on how he looked in those practice plays, how those plays were executed during the game plan portions of those practice. So the hope of being active is there. And I think we're getting very, very close if we're not there already, but it is not a guarantee at this point in time, but we'll see how that plays out. All right. Will our defense step up and be able to stop the Patriots run game? Well, it'd be hard to imagine the Dolphins' run game being worse than it was last week against the Chargers when Eckler had his way, when Joshua Kelly had his way. Their yards per carry was off the chart. I think we're going to see an improved performance from Wilkins, from the defensive line, but outside of just those guys playing better, obviously we know our linebackers need to play better as well. We can't go around and make it a habit to have double-digit tackles from Javon Holland, from Deshaun Elliott, whoever's playing safety. That's not a sustainable way to play the run game. Like I said in that Chargers game follow-up, you can't win too many games when you're letting the other team run the ball 40 times for over like 200 some yards and whatever the stats were. You're not going to win many games when you allow that. But it's curious to see what the Patriots did on the ground last week because they only ran for 76 yards last week. But the thing to keep in mind is you can't just box score watch on that. You got to consider the opponent and their players as well. It's the Eagles. It's the Eagles' defensive line. It's their defense in general, which is just chock full of quality bodies. If you watched them on Thursday, they had their moments, but more so than not, they just controlled what the Vikings had to do on offense there. They couldn't get anything going on the ground. So maybe not the best barometer. I think the Eagles' run defense is probably better than what the Dolphins have, but I do think the Dolphins make some necessary adjustments. We see improvements on the defensive line from Raekwon, from Christian Wilkins, from Zach Sealer. We'll make those linebackers better in general. We will see an improvement from that Dolphins run defense this week. Let's do one more before the prediction. Like I've said in the past, I try to get to as many questions as possible. I apologize if I didn't get to yours. Keep funneling them in. I'm going to continue to try to get to as many of these each week as possible. But will Tyreek top 200 yards again? I love the idea of doing it. If I have to answer yes or no, I'll play the statistical safeguard and say no. But like I said in that first preview video earlier this week, I do think the Dolphins offense is going to have to operate through the passing game again this week. So 100+ yards out of Tyreek might be a little bit more of a requirement, might be a little bit more realistic, but I think this is going to be a Tua game. And despite Mostert being healthy and maybe seeing A-Chain, and we all want to see the run game take that next step and be a little bit more utilized and incorporated into our week-by-week game plan, I think this Patriots defense presents certain challenges to the point where Tua is going to have to be efficient, but the offense is going to have to run through that passing game. So just a quick prediction. I don't see Tyreek going over 200, but I do think the offense once again gets funneled through the pass game. Let's jump into that prediction. I got us Dolphins starting 2-0. How you feel about that? I feel pretty damn good about that because I do think this Patriots defense is a good test. It's a very true test. I like a lot of their players. I like what they do on the defensive side of the ball. But I will say this. If our offense clicks on Sunday night, and maybe it doesn't even click to the extent that it did against the Chargers, but if it just shows time in and time out that we're not stalling on drives, we're not having a bunch of 3-and-outs, if we can be consistent on offense, I think we may have arrived. I think we may be here. Now, it's too early to obviously talk playoff, Super Bowl, all those scenarios. So much can happen. We're not even into week 2 yet. But if you can start 2-0, on the road against a quality opponent in the Chargers, and this defense that I'm hyping up on the road against New England, you've got something there. You definitely have something there, especially, keep this in mind, as we get more healthy. Jalen Ramsey will be back at some point in time. If we don't see Teron Armstead this week, we're probably not too far from seeing him at some point in the very near future as well. So as we get a little bit more healthy, as we continue to move through the schedule, I finally get a home game. We get a home game week 3 before we return to the road again in week 4. We might have something here. So I'm going 30-20 Dolphins over the Patriots. But like I said, drop your predictions in the comments as well. If you get subscribed and a comment left, that's your entry into Jalen Waddle. We'll be doing the drawing in the Dolphins Patriots recap video, which will probably be released on Monday. Just giving you a warning on that. But that is what I have got for today, Dolphins fans. Let's get this win and fins up.